In today's video, we're going to be going over the City of Calgary monthly market update for the month of July 2024. In this video, we're going to be going over pricing, inventory, sales, and what that means for you as a buyer or a seller looking to do a real estate transaction in this market. And if you don't know, my name is Ryan Hawkins. I'm a local real estate agent here in Calgary. And if you learn anything new from this video, all I ask is that you do subscribe. And if you are thinking about buying or selling in this real estate market, you can book a time that best suits for you in the first link in the description. And there we can have a quick call about what you are exactly looking for and how I can help you. Now, getting on with the video and going on through the stats, we're going to first look at kind of the overall and what is currently happening here in the Calgary real estate market. To begin, we're going to be looking at what our chief financial officer at Krebs had to say. And she said, while we're still dealing with supply challenges, especially for lower priced homes, more options in both the new home and resale market have helped take some of the upward pressure off of home prices this month. Now, you are going to see here in market that things are down and also up, and I'm going to be explaining exactly to you what that means. So to start off on the right-hand side here, we're going to be looking at this sales. And as you can see, sales were 2,380 and we're down 10% year over year. And we're going to be diving into this a little bit more and exactly what does that mean. Also, new listings rose 11% from 3,604, which is a great news for buyers looking to buy in this market. And the inventory also rose close to 19% at 4,158. And our month of supply is finally starting to get on that rise at 1.75 months, closing in on 2 months worth of inventory, which we haven't seen in some time. And that is up 32% year over year. Now, if we look at the prices of what is currently going on, the total residential benchmark price is up 7.7% year over year at $606,000. That is starting to kind of be a little bit more of a flat line. And again, we will dive more into it later into the video. And the detached benchmark price has risen 11% at 767,800, almost 668. Semi-detached rose to almost $688,000 by almost 12%. Row townhouses continuing to be strong at 464,000, an uprise of 14.6% year over year. And apartment price also continuing their strong run at up 17% of almost just over $346,000. Now, what does this all mean as we start getting into everything kind of happening? But before we do that, we're going to just look at kind of what the communities are doing. If you don't know, Calgary has 8 districts here. And as you can see, prices are continuing to rise in almost every sector, with the East and the Northeast continuing to be our largest driving factor in this market, as they have been for a while, because they have been some of the most affordable places in all of Calgary. But as you can see, things are starting to continue to go up, and we can probably continue to see this for the remainder of the year, just because the year over year price is continuing to be higher. But if we start to go into a little bit more of kind of what this month was versus the same time last year, you can see that total sales are down by almost 300. New listings are up, which is really good, by almost 400. Months of supply, as you can see, is up even higher, which is good as well, by, like I said, 32%, which is great to see. The sales to new listing ratio this same time last year was almost 81.5%, which means that 81% of new listings this same time last year were selling within that month. Now it is 66%, which means homes are sitting on the market longer, which means that for sellers, you are going to have to adjust, which again, we'll dive into a little bit later in the video. And the sales to list price ratio is staying around that 100%. So even though homes are sitting on the market longer, not getting maybe as much traction, the sales to list price ratio is at just over 100%, meaning that sellers are getting exactly what they are asking for. And if you're wanting to know how much your home is worth in the market today, all you need to do is fill out this home evaluation form, and I will send you a updated evaluation of what your home is worth today. You just need to fill out your email, your name, your phone number, your address, of course, and just give me a little bit more information about the property, like bedrooms, bathrooms, and the approximate size of the home, and I can get that sent to you today. So as you can see what the benchmark price was, we have risen in just 12 months from 563 to just under 607. And then as you can see, these are the individual stats for the property types. And if you'd like to pause here and read a little bit more about what is going on, but we will again dive a little bit more into this a little bit later. But let's continue on with the overall market. And here are the Calgary districts to see what everything is going on here. As you can see, as I bring this up, most things are in the positives with positive growth, year over year growth, and month over month. But this is one of the first months that I'm seeing where there's actually negative growth in some of these areas. As you can see, if we start up at the detached, we're starting to see the Northwest and the West and the Southeast have some negative growth, which is going to be good for buyers, but not too much where sellers are having to panic. If you look at the apartment market, it was only really the city center that had negative growth, which is not in my surprise, as there is a lot of competition in that area. And the semi-detached, you did have a couple of areas, but for the most part, it is still quite high. And then in the row townhouse market, you had the east, the southeast, and the northwest and the north have some negative growth as well. This is mostly probably due to the fact that row townhouses had a really strong run from the start of the year to now, and they are starting to get to the point where they're almost unattainable for most buyers. They're starting to really creep up over that 500K mark on average that I am seeing. So as we continue on, here is your total sales kind of for the month of July over the last 14 years. And as you can see, this is pretty standard to where we were at 2021, which was a busy year, but not as high as what it was in 2022, again, which was also a busy year, but this was a bit of a slowdown. Now, the total inventory has risen from the same time last year from July 2023, which is fantastic. But as you can see, we were still going a bit down and we're starting to slowly come up. And hopefully this is a continuing trend for the following same time next year. Now, as we continue on, we're going to be looking at kind of what the total residential has been doing to kind of give you an overall of where the busy market is. And has this actually been a slowdown, and are we starting to go down in pricing, or is this just starting to flatline, and what are we currently doing? So as you can see, if you compare it to the beginning of this year, our benchmark price did start at 567,000 and we are now at 606. But as you can see, for the last 3 consecutive months, we haven't moved too much. We went from 605 to 608, and we now have come back down to 606. So not too much of a drop, but is this a price drop, or is this just more of a flat line? Is this seasonal trends? What is currently happening? And in my honest opinion, this is just seasonal trends that we have seen before. Usually the beginning of the year, around that February, March, April time, it is quite a heavy time for sales. And we have been seeing that for quite some time from 2021. If you want to stay up to date with what is happening in the Calgary real estate market, you can download the official market update right here on my website. All you need to do is fill out your name and your email, and you can instantly download the market report where you'll be able to see all the sales, the pricing of individual property types, and what is currently going on. So do that now if you want to stay up to date with the Calgary real estate market. And as we kind of got into June, July, and August, I suspect this trend to continue for the month of August, kind of flatlining. This will either stay around 606 or most likely drop, but I don't think it's going to go too much further than that 606 kind of price range. It might go back up to 608, but I think it's going to hover around that 606 and flatline from there. Even if you look at 2023, what the benchmark pricing was doing, if you look at June, all the way through the remainder of the year. It went from 560, 563, 566, 565, 566, 567, 565. So it really stayed kind of that flat line really here. It didn't really have any spikes. And it wasn't until from December to January, it went 567, and then it jumped to 582. 592, 599, and then here we are at 605 in the sixes. So I continue to see this being a more of that long-term trend from here until the end of the year, where it might go up a little bit, might come down a little bit, it might slow down. And even with the interest rates currently dropping twice already this year, I continue to see this being a supply and demand issue, and that it's going to kind of hover around this flat line. We might see a little bit more activity in the September, October fall market, but I really can't see it. Now, if we come down into this little area here, this is going to be our Calgary total sales and where they were for the month and compared to last month and what our busiest areas were. As you can see, as affordability is starting to get quite difficult for a lot of people, you are seeing the challenges you're starting to see challenges even in the lower price market, as there's starting to be less and less of that inventory available. But again, the busiest area is anywhere from 250 all the way to say 800,000, which has been the standard for the year. But you can even see compared to last year how many more sales were just in that 200 to 400 range compared to this year, which again has shown how much home prices have risen. And even if you go here, what is currently happening in the different price ranges, you can just kind of see as it trends along, right? We're starting to go up in price, but and then sales are starting to happen a little bit less in other areas in these lower price ranges, again, as prices are starting to get a little bit unattainable for some. Now, if we continue to the total residential price, we'll show you a couple of graphs here. We're still above, in terms of total sales, we're still above that 10-year average right in here. We have been ever since 2021, obviously after the pandemic. And new listings, we were up in 2021, up in 2022. This was due to a lot of the sales happening. Even though new listings were up, you can see that the sales were matching it. It was the same thing in 2021. And we had a lot less a lot less listings in 2023, but more sales compared to the 10-year average. But this year we are back just over that 10-year average than what we have normally seen thus far, which is really good news again for buyers. But if we continue to go over here to the City of Calgary total inventory and sales, the blue is your inventory, the green is your sales, and that red is that benchmark pricing. Now, as you can see, we've been on this run ever since from July of last year. This is that 12-month look. You've seen, as I told you, it did flatline for a little bit, and then once you got to January, we just kind of went straight up from there. But now we're starting to kind of come down and we'll flatline. I imagine that this portion right here is going to be exactly the same as this portion right here. It is most likely going to be the same due to seasonal trends, even on affordability. Even though listings have come up, the prices are still quite high and the interest rates are still quite high as well. So I don't see that changing too much, and we're continuing to go that way. If we look at the total months of inventory, we've been pretty much going all the way down since 2020, and we had a really big dip here in 2021. But now we are looking like we are starting to come up a little bit more, as you can see just right here where we are. We have been slowly coming up. For a while there, we were under that 1 month of inventory, and now we have come up significantly, almost that 2 months of inventory. Hopefully in August we do eventually reach that, which would be great. And then even if we go down to the total price change, here we go. The green is your average price change year over year, and your median price year over year change, and the benchmark price. As you can see, it still is going up, but the benchmark price is going down. The average, it did go down as well, but the median is just continuing to tick up. But again, I do see a little bit more flatlining in this. And then if you look at the total prices here, again, looking like everything is starting to come down. which is great, but I don't see significant drops for the remainder of the year. I continue to see it starting to hover around that 606 kind of price range, and that's probably where we're going to be for the remainder of the year. With all of these numbers in mind, what does that mean for you as a buyer or a seller in this market? If you are a buyer, some good news has finally come for you, as there are more inventory on the market for you to finally look at versus very limited and having to make a really fast choice. In saying that, though, we are still in a seller's market and it's still a competitive market. And the sellers that are making adjustments quickly are still selling for a good amount of money. Sellers are still getting exactly what they asked for, with the average being at exactly 100%. So it is still going to be quite strategic for what you are looking at. And depending on what you have to do, you may still be in multiple offer situations, which is something that we have seen all year round, but you may not be needing to spend as much as we've seen in the past and currently this year. So it is still important for you to have a plan, to know your budget, know exactly where you want to look and what your type of property that you are currently looking at, and having that plan in mind and going out and getting after it. If you are a seller, you definitely have a lot more competition on the market, but that is not to say that your home is worth less, but there is definitely more of an emphasis of pricing your home correctly. In the past couple of years and earlier this year, sellers were able to get away with maybe pricing it slightly higher than what their home was worth because the demand was there and there was very little competition for you on the market. But right now, we are starting to see more inventory on the market, and also buyers are still struggling to afford homes, with interest rates are quite high and home prices are quite high as well. So in saying that, you need to be able to still make your home stand out in front of the crowd, even though you have more competition and there's still quite a bit of buyers out there. So the first thing that you need to do is really understand the numbers for how much your home is actually worth compared to your neighbors and past sales. Really look at those comps and really understand what that is, and then price it realistically. From there, you should also making sure that your home stands out. Make sure it's clean. It's summertime. Make sure that front part of your home is looking good, because that is the first thing buyers see when they walk in. Make sure it's clean. Maybe do a repaint, anything like that. I don't really think you need to do a full renovation, but paint goes a long way, and a clean and declutter also goes a long way. The third thing is that when you are having all these showings and you don't know how much you, let me explain this. When you're going through these showings and you are having very little showings, you need to be able to adjust quickly, which means that if you have no showings in the first week, 2 weeks, very, very little, that is the best time for you to sell your home. Then you are going to need to make an adjustment in price wise, and do it quickly and do it significantly based off of what is currently happening in the market and other comps. This way you can drive traffic to your home and get more showings. If you do that, I guarantee in this market you will have a good amount of success, and you will be able to sell your home for a good amount of money. So with that said, thanks for watching the video, and I hope you learned a lot. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you'd like to book a call with me, all of my contact information is down below all of my contact information is down in the description, and you can book a call in that first link in the description. But until then, I look forward to seeing you at the next video. Take care.